And so what I feel consumers are looking for are really global lifestyles at accessible price points. And I think that brands are actually doing a great job in India of delivering that. I think quality is no longer one of those things. You know, one of the unfortunate statements or byproducts of slang in general is jugaad. This idea of jugaad, it's okay. I put 4 wheels in a box and I have a car. Why do I need to worry about anything? It's good enough. And I think that that's shifting. And I think that mindset is shifting because consumers are actually demanding better quality products. And brands are delivering it. And I think we're very impressed with what we're seeing from companies out there. And I think global players are recognizing it as well. Whether it's Muji or Uniqlo or IKEA or Nike or Adidas, they're all putting a tremendous amount of importance on the fact that this is going to be a large consuming market going forward. They have the patience, they have the wherewithal, they have the capital, they have the knowledge, and they're now saying, look, we're going to come here and we're going to play this market in a unique way, in a different way than they may have in other markets. And so all of that is combining together on the aspiration side as well to drive consumption differently. So ultimately for us, when we think about how these brands have to get built, on one side I mentioned earlier, technology is a base. You must have it in some way, shape, or form to create some differentiation in your overall cost structure. But then when you start to think about the brand, I mean, brands are built at that intersection of aspiration and affordability. Now, for example, I think the Tata Nano was an engineering marvel. But the unfortunate part about the Nano was it was tagged and billed as the world's cheapest car. There's no aspiration in this idea of driving the world's cheapest car. I would rather drive a scooter and go to work every day and be absolutely happy with that. And you want to create some feeling and emotion. And I think that at the same time, not everyone can afford the Ferrari. So how do you bring these two together? And that's really where brands end up getting created. So coming back to the food world, and I'm not sure if Sagar talked about this morning, I wasn't here, but Behrooz is a biryani brand that, interestingly, in the journey of Fasos, and in the journey of Fasos, we actually originally launched biryani under Fasos as a product. And we tried to scale it up and tried to kind of move the price point of a Fasos customer up. And it wasn't that easy. And it wasn't that easy to sell that biryani. And it wasn't that easy to convince people that Fasos, as a wraps and rolls brand, could actually make biryani. But what the team did is they went back, they sat down, and they created a whole backstory around biryani, around Behrooz, around the kings and the battle that took place. And it wasn't just an ad that was created. I think it was actually a 7-story book that they created that was actually a comic book that they put out. And they said, look, this is what it's all about. And they created this sense of emotion around it. And that, combined with an infrastructure that allowed us to experiment very easily with it, allowed Behrooz to actually build and grow into a very, very successful biryani brand, and one that we're continuing to build upon. So now, just talking a little bit about food, and I mean, this is the Dark Kitchen Summit, so I'm not sure I really need to say much about this, but nonetheless, I'll point out how we've looked at this market. If you look at the US and China, you have 75 chains that have over 500 locations in the US, 25 in China, and 3 in India. And it's unfortunate that the 3 in India are actually not even Indian cuisines. But we can appreciate why. Rent to sales ratios, you're paying Manhattan or New York style rents, and you're getting, unfortunately, rupee revenue here. And so it's a very hard business to scale up in that manner. And so, but overall, it's a very interesting market because ultimately, if you're able to figure this out correctly, and what we kind of understood at Rebel over time was that kitchens and restaurant businesses follow a linear curve. You're going to continue to grow costs every year based on the rate of inflation. You have to keep buying more onions and tomatoes, you have to keep hiring people to run it, and that continues to grow at the rate of inflation. When you set up a new restaurant outside of the dark kitchen world, you have to put up a certain amount of upfront CapEx. Once you put up that upfront CapEx, you're now underneath your cost curve for a while. And you stay underneath it because you have to drum up excitement. You have to spend on getting people to propagate word of mouth. You get people coming in, and then eventually you cross over, and you come on top, and then over time it'll plateau and come down. Now, unfortunately, only 65% of the restaurants that get into the game have the chance to even play that and ride that journey. 85% of them shut down within 5 years. So the concept with Rebel was the idea of, look, if I built the infrastructure once, whether I'm running 1 brand or 5 brands out of it, what should it matter? And we heard from Swiggy's Access business as well, similar concept I imagine, where the idea is, look, I can leverage my infrastructure over multiple brands, ride multiple S-curves, and ultimately deliver a business that's actually much less risky from that perspective. Now, this has worked well for Rebel. they've moved from 350 restaurants to 2,000 in 2.5 years. And I think the leverage that comes on that is tremendous, because suddenly you're able to grow revenues exponentially compared to the pace at which you're actually growing restaurants. And I think that that's one of the things that was most exciting for us. Here again, it's the marriage of technology with the understanding of how to think about brands that has made that business really attractive to us. And again, one of the reasons why I was excited to come and talk and listen here today was that food really is the last frontier. If you look at it, Amazon, Walmart, Uber, Hertz, Netflix, Blockbuster, everybody has been disintermediated by technology. Yet, the largest food service company in the world remains McDonald's. Nobody anywhere has done it. And I actually think that in India, because of the unique aspects and the unique characteristics that exist here, the fragmentation that exists, the lack of brand penetration, the low cost of delivery, all of these combine to actually make this an ideal ground from which we can actually build and scale this business. Rebel is one. I'm sure there are many others here that are also going to attack this opportunity. I think we're excited to learn more about those.